Hey everyone, welcome back to KBS Technocrop. In today's video, we are diving deep into SpecFlow Hook and understand how they can streamline your automation workflow. Whether you are beginner or an experienced tester, understanding SpecFlow Hook is essential for mastering test automation with SpecFlow. So let's get started. First, let's understand what exactly are the SpecFlow hooks. So spec flow hooks are a powerful feature that allow you to execute code at a various point in your spec flow test automation workflow. They enable you to perform setup, tear down, and other automation tasks before or after certain event, such as scenario execution, step before and after, like feature before and after execution, even though before or after entire test runs, right? So if you understand, there are certain scenarios when we require to do a setup and tear down. You need to prepare test environment before running your test cases, clean up the existing data, or you might need to have a uh, log your test case execution results somewhere for reporting purpose, and you want to tear down that that logs before you re-execute that test case. Also, sometimes what happens, right, if you are having some kind of authentication authorization, right, and you want to perform before you run the uh, any of the scenario, so that also we can use hooks for implementing that. So let's get started and try to understand with a simple example, creating a new project, and understand that by having a simple scenarios where and how to use it. So I'm going to create, I have opened the Visual Studio, and then I'm going to create a new project, and I will select the spec flow, you know uh, spec flow templates, and I click here, and then I'm just going to give this project name is as that spec flow hook flow hooks, right? And I will save it in one of drive, and I will create it. I will select .NET 6.0, and then I will select an unit as it is. That's fine, right? So I can see there is a feature file has been created, and then there is a calculator. I'm going to install few more drivers to support Selenium web drivers here. So I'm going to add some dependencies here. So I'm going to first add dependency for the Selenium web driver. So we need to install that Selenium web driver. So I'm going to add Selenium web driver using NuGet package. So I'm going to add dependencies, add manage NuGet package, and then browse, and then I will try to add it from here. I will add it, I will install it, and then I need to install couple of more packages. So one is Selenium support. I will explain later what are the features I'm going to use it. So I'm going to add one more NuGet package, and then I'm going to search it here. Okay, and it's there. So I'm installing that. And the final and last one, I'm going to use some wait helper, which will help us to wait for the driver for certain time, uh, for performing any action on the web pages. So I'm going to use this. Okay, I install it. Okay, so now uh, let's try to add one hook. So if you try to add new item here, add new item, you can see and select the spec flow from here. You can see there is a spec flow hook event binding, right? So this will be like a hook. So let's say create add. So if you see here in this, there are multiple events as we have discussed in the earlier right here. So before scenario, right, after scenario, right? Before steps, after step, there are many more events are there which we can use it. So we will discuss later how we can use this. Okay, now I'm going to delete this feature file because I'm not going to use this feature file. I'm going to use some realistic example. Okay, now I'm going to create a new feature file here. So I will select this, add a new item, and then I will select a spec flow from template, and then I will select a spec flow feature file, and then I will give a name called uh, wiki spec flow navigation. Since I'm going to have a realistic scenario, so what I'm going to do that in this, I'm going to cover a scenario where a user try to navigate to try wiki page up, and try to find out a spec flow on wiki page and verify that the spec flow contents are displayed there. So this is very simple scenario. So I just mentioned that is spec flow navigation, that's the reason. So now I created a SpecFlow navigation feature file. If you see, the SpecFlow navigation file has been created. Now, the SpecFlow navigation file has been created. So after that, I'm going to do that, just to save the time, I'm going to add the scenarios. So I'm going to write this scenario, and the scenario is look like that. So in this reading a wiki page, I am on the wiki page for SpecFlow. I should see the content of the page. So that's very simple, just for demonstrate how to use that hooks I just created. Now we have created this feature file. What we are going to do that we are going to build this solution, and then we are going to generate step definition file. So solution build happen, and if you see this steps are not having step definition, so we will click right click and define steps, and then we will create. So we will be able to see that step definition files has been created here, and then there are two steps, so all these two steps are defined here. Now we are going to define, and we are going to define the definition of each method. Also we are going to use selenium driver inside this. So I'm going to add code for that. So I'm going to add some code for calling selenium driver here. So I will, okay, so now I have a driver, so I will put here variable driver equal to new chrome driver. Right. So this is without using a hooks. I have created a chrome driver instance here, and then I'm using that same chrome driver. Okay, now what we are going to do that we are going to run this test case without using hooks, and then later we will see how we can use hooks in this scenario. Now let's run this particular test cases and see that how it works. So I will build this solution, rebuild, and then I will go in the tests and text explorer. I have this, so let me run this. So when I run this, you will be able to see it's going to open TryWiki page, and then it's going to show that SpecFlow. Let me comment this driver dot which is closing the browser. I will show you that it works fine. So for example, now let's go to test explorer and run it. And when you run it, you'll be able to see that it's navigating to that particular SpecFlow page, and this is what our test case is there, right? So we need to navigate to SpecFlow page and see that SpecFlow information are displaying there. So that's fine. I will stop it, and then I will enable this quick because it has to close the browser. So for that, this code is required. Let me explain this code, but I have done it in this. I have not used any hooks here. So what I have done it here, I have just created a Chrome driver instance inside my step definition, and then I'm navigating to that particular page. That means the SpecFlow page, and this I'm just checking that content exists or not. Just very simple, right? This is what I'm trying to do that. Okay, this page title is coming from the feature file. This is what the page title. If I change to BDD, it will be searching BDD. Okay, now we will see how we can use the hooks in this scenario. So we will go on hook, and there are multiple methods, right? Before scenario, after scenario, right? Before step, after step. So if you see here, you will be able to see before these all are hooks, right? So where you want to inject your code. For example, if you want to execute some set of code before feature started, you can use this decoration. If you want to execute code before scenario, and then before step, after step, so we will go one by one and we will discuss in more detail. What I'm going to do that, I'm going to remove this all, and just in our case, what we are doing it here in this step definition, we are navigating, or that means we are initiating the driver, and then we are disposing the driver. So we want to use hooks for, right, for initiating or opening the browser and disposing the driver, right? So for these two purpose, we will be using before scenario start and after scenario. We want to, before scenario we want to initiate the driver, and after scenario we want to dispose the driver. That means quit the driver or close the browser. So to do that, what we need to do that, we need to use hooks. And in hooks, what we can do that, we can write that code for addressing that. So how to do that? I'm going to use two decorated, that is before scenario and after scenario. So I will go here, and this is a hook which we have created. So I have deleted everything. Now what I did it here, I just added before scenario. This method name, you can put it anything. Let's say consider anything, you can put it any name. What is matter that you should have this decorator, right, before scenario. This is how the hooks understand which method need to execute when, right? So we have two method here, and these two methods which is going to execute, this first method is going to execute before scenario, and second one is going to execute after scenario. So what we are doing in before scenario, we are initiating the driver, we are setting up into the scenario context, and then after scenario we are just disposing that, right? So now we are going to see how we can use that in our scenarios. So we can use that using the scenario context. So to do that, we can read from scenario context. So we are going into the step definition, and what I'm going to do that, I'm going to create if we can use in constructor also, we can use it here as well. So basically Chrome driver, let's say Chrome driver. Okay, so basically it's a Chrome, so yes, a Chrome driver, right? So driver equal to this. Now what will happen, right? If you see this quit is not required, which required to dispose, right? So it does not require here. So what I did it very simple. I created a hook here, and in hook I initiated a driver. That means whenever scenario start, I have given this current web driver equal to driver. That means it's initiated, and when scenario, after the scenario executed, this should be quit. So now if you see here into your step definition file here, right, I just commented this. So from where does it initiate, and where does it where does it dispose, it's here. Okay, so let me correct this required a web driver instance basically. So I need to put I web driver here, basically I web driver. So I will put I web driver. Okay. So let's run this test case once again and see what is happening. Now after this modification, I'm going to run this test case. So let's go on Test Explorer, and again we will run this test case. So if you see, the test case work perfectly and the driver dispose is also happening. So from where does it happen? It happens from the hooks, because we have written this code in hooks and it's a disposing here, because in step definition we have commented this code. So now let's say consider if you are having multiple test scenarios, right? So instead of writing this driver dot quit everywhere, what we can use it in that case, we can use that hooks. So hooks will take care of that initiation, tear down. This kind of code can be injected here. For example, let's say consider if you have a test cases which require to insert some data in the application, right? And after your test case successfully runs, you want to delete it. Those kind of scenario also we can address it. Now let's consider one more scenario where we are going to capture the screenshot of each step, right? So to do that, that also a very good example for capturing the screenshot. So I'm going to add some code after scenario execution, so that after once the scenario execution complete, right, we will be capturing the screenshot. So I'm going to add some line of code to capture the screenshot. So let's say after scenario, let's say consider uh, you want to capture some screenshot, right? So here we can capture that screenshot. Inside this we can write this code. Okay, so let's say we get the driver and then we will capture the screenshot and then okay. So format we can put it any. So let me add it, save file as a png, no need to pass this parameter, it should work. Okay, so we are saving the screenshot. Now when you run this, right, when you run it, you will be able to see there is a screenshot saved there. So in this case, whenever a step or a scenario successfully executed, you want to capture the screenshot, then we can write this code and we can use it, right? So similar way, if you want to capture the images or screenshot for each step, right? So we can write a similar kind of code for after step, step, and you can give any method name. So for example, you can give anything here, any method name, and you can write this similar code, right? Similar code there. You will be able to get that images generated there. Okay, so let me write. So you will be able to get that, right? This is just for example. So when I run this test case, right, what we'll be able to see that is a capturing the screenshot for each step, because we have added after the step, and then also it will capture the screenshot after the scenario, right? So this is how we can use hooks. These are very simple examples which I just try to demonstrate it. Okay, thanks for watching my video. I hope you like. If you like, please do press like and subscribe button.